Hey guys, just give me a second. I'm a little bit early. Oh, guys. Oh no! Ugh. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a chilling night. Okay, before we get into the heebie-jeebies of the evening, I just want to remind you that there are some things that you need to do for me. Actually, I'm just going to read the script if that's okay, because I forget things. Welcome to Friday night. Today we are welcoming the night as we discuss something that we don't think much of until we dive into Halloween or horror movies. Tonight, as promised, we are talking about animals that are associated with evil. But before we take a wild jump into this topic, I want to invite you to stay a while, because you don't have a choice, and click that subscribe icon. Also, click that thumbs up button, or who knows what could happen tonight. Something could come out of my closet and grab me, and I will be gone. So, let's talk about our first animal. Depending upon when and where you lived, cats have either been worshipped or not, or treated really, really badly. And more on that later. But for right now, in the East, typically cats have been a good thing. The Egyptians knew very early on that cats kept rodents from getting into their granaries. So what did they do? They gave them their own goddess. And as you can tell from some of the mummies that have been found, they actually mummified cats. True story. Check it out after the video. But in the West, things were not always good for the cats. Starting with, before I forget, I am not anti-Catholic. I am not anti-Semitic. The information that I'm giving you was found on the internet. So, with what I'm about to say, please do not get mad at me. Okay? I'm just retelling some fictional, some not fictional. I'm giving factual information. There. Okay. Now that my brain is back, let's continue. Cats, especially bad cats, restart. Cats, especially black cats, got a really bad rap. And a lot of it actually came from popes, believe it or not. Pope Innocent the Seventh said that cats were the devil's favorite animal. And what happens when a pope smears an animal like that? You get fear. And fear in people is never a good thing. People believed that if a cat, especially a black cat, sat on somebody that was sick, they would lose their lives. There was also belief that black cats spread sickness, including the bubonic plague. Cats unfortunately became scapegoats, if you will. During the Dark Ages, thousands of them were actually killed. This alone might have had something to do with rat populations spiking and having their fleas go all over the place. Just thinking, maybe. But it didn't stop there. Oh no, it only got worse. Cats were used, believe it or not, in medieval anti-Semitic propaganda. This is incredibly sad. Even back then, you couldn't escape hate. There was a belief that people could transform into cats and sneak into Christian homes in the form of cats to cause mischief. Not true. Total propaganda even back then. Pope Gregory, one of the Pope Gregories anyway, issued the Vox in Rama in 1233, which denounced cats. Amongst religious communities, cats were not allowed to be kept as pets, even though it would have kept rat populations in check. Just saying. We didn't see this lifted either until around the 18th century. And again, I want to reiterate that the information about cats, not a hate thing, just giving out information. But let's move on to yet another animal. This time we are talking about the snake. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you probably have heard about the snake that tempted Eve into eating the apple or the fruit, the forbidden fruit. Can you think of a better way to smear the reputation of an animal by putting it into the Bible and having it smear or corrupt the mother of humanity? I'll admit, we actually have a right to sometimes fear snakes, but snakes in and of themselves are not evil. We have a right to fear venomous snakes. We don't have a right to randomly kill. But have you heard the term a snake in the grass, referring to someone who can't be trusted or are just a pain in your side? Most of the time, people that get bit because they've stepped on a snake and the snake bites in response to that. Picked up a snake, you're a giant thing that is threatening them and potentially could eat them, they're going to bite. Sometimes they will bite. Also, if you corner a snake and there's no way for that snake to get out, you might get bit. Now, I don't want anyone to get bit by any snake, but it happens. Given a chance to run, usually a snake will. A snake will try to get away from you. But I have seen my fair share of snakes that have been butchered before the person even knows if that snake is not venomous. And I don't know if the symbolism of the snake in the Bible was meant to scare people, but I've seen, like I said, I've seen my fair share of dead snakes. More often than not, that dead snake happens to be a rat snake, and they're not dangerous. They may bite you, but they're not venomous. I don't support killing snakes. Rat snakes and snakes in general help keep rat populations at bay. Even mice. They're going to be good about that. Okay, let's see, where am I? Religion is not a bad thing. It is a very, very good thing. By the way, I am Christian. Bats are another animal sometimes associated with evil. Bats have been in numerous movies, including Bats, The Silence, The Vampire Bat, The Graveyard Shift, and let's not forget all of the venomous all of the vampire movies that have been out. Just a second, I always am forgetting stuff. I don't know. And also I can't type. I'm doing really good tonight. I'm hoping, y'all, that we get through this without too much damage. Okay, so back to bats. Bats are listed also as an unclean animal in the Bible, but it doesn't stop people from eating them, mainly out east. Vampires, of course, are known to transform into bats, and they're also listed as being a one of those animals that may tell you if you're going to die or not, or somebody in the house is going to die. A lady in Europe was legit burned at the stake for being a witch because bats were flying around her home and her garden. Yeah, crazy. Can you imagine being tried and killed, falsely, might I add, tried and killed just because bats were feeding in your yard? Of course, Bram Stoker also saw to it that vampires would always be linked to bats. And there are things like it's unlucky to see a bat out in the daytime. Yeah, about that. Not sure about that. But let me explain why that might be a thing. If you see a bat out during the daytime, it may or may not be sick. It may or may not have rabies. If it does, you should not pick it up. You should leave it alone. Never handle a bat with your bare hands. Also, during the medieval period, you have to figure that they probably didn't know that bats carried rabies, that rabies was a thing, and back then it would have pretty much been a death sentence. Once you got it, you had it, and you died. And many cultures saw bats as evil. And I'm sure it's because they probably came out at night, or maybe because they would see them coming in and out of caves. I don't know. Whatever the case is, not a good thing. We're going to move on to owls, though. In some cultures, owls were associated with prophecy, and this is a good thing. They were seen as being good and wise, but that isn't where we're going to be looking today. We want to know about the darker side, so we're going to go with that. They are considered to be a symbol for evil magic. There is a belief that nailing an owl to your door would keep away evil spirits. I'm going to say that probably isn't true. If that didn't work, well, that didn't work, but it might have made you, well, it makes you an owl killer for one, but it also no doubt brought in flies, which every household needs, right? You want flies in your house. Well, anyway, moving on. Owls were seen as omens of death and destruction. Seeing an owl, something about seeing an owl out during the daytime was thought to be a sign of evil for whatever reason. For the Greeks, and this seems really weird, it doesn't seem right, since Athena was symbolized with the owl, but the Greeks considered them a symbol of cannibalism. Ew. But I don't know about that one. So, they are said to bring messages from the world of the dead, but I think India has it right. There, the birds were said to be symbols of helpfulness and wisdom. After all, these birds do so much for keeping rodents in control. Crows are another animal that unfortunately gets a really bad rap. And their misalignments in this whole good and evil thing probably came because they're black and they're scavengers. There have been crows in Hitchcock's The Birds and in other films as well. Crows could foretell foretell that a household might be coming in, that a uninvited guest might be showing up at your house if the crows are outside making a ruckus. That would be a sign that you might be having a person that you don't want showing up at your house showing up. Bear in mind that these birds are very, very intelligent. And just think that some of them are pretty much as intelligent as some primates. They are so connected with death that if you find a group of crows near your house, it's a sign that something bad is going to be coming into your life. Finding a feather of a crow in your yard is a symbol of bad luck. Now, I covered hyenas in another video, another live, but I am going to mention a little bit about them. Hyenas were thought to not only be witches, but it was also believed that witches rode hyenas. And if you want to see that live, I believe it is the Superstition of Animals, or Animal Superstitions, one or the other. And it's alive. We are going to look now at the rats. And it's no wonder that the rat has this reputation. After all, they get into our food, they spread the plague. Well, they don't really spread the plague, but they spread the fleas. There is a myth that if rats are in a home, that the house will not burn to the ground if caught on fire. Also, seeing a rat might be a sign of incoming wealth or abundance. Doesn't make sense. The Quakers believed that if a house had rats, that you didn't need traps, you didn't need a cat, all you needed was to write a note telling the rats to leave your home. And the rats would, tear up the note or eat the note, and that would exorcise the rats from your home. Didn't work. Ships. A lot of the ships in the early days oftentimes had rats on board. If you were on a ship and the rats suddenly decided to leave the ship, it was thought that your ship was going to sink. Houses that saw a departure of rats from them would soon be visited by death or doom. Hey, I didn't make it up. I found it. Spiders. Yeah, it has to be spiders. One of my favorite animals, and they're being turned into monsters. For this purpose, we're skipping all of the cultures in which spiders are a good thing, and that's a lot of them. A lot of cultures look at them as being a good thing. Leave it, though, to the Middle Ages to mess it all up. Seriously. They became a symbol of chaos. They thought that if they crept into your home, or that since they could creep into your home, that they evidently were like demons creeping into your home. Even worse, it was believed that if you got bit by one of these spiders, that you too could become possessed by a demon. And they were also said to be in league with witches. Toads. Did you know that toads were considered to be the familiar of witches? Toad bones were said to give one the power to control horses. Witches were said to feed their toads and then milk them. And you might be wondering, how do you milk a toad? Well, they're milking the poison that comes out of the toad. It's also believed that toads had a stone within their head that had the power to heal you and to cure sickness. Of course, there is no bone or no stone within a toad's head. It doesn't work that way. Toads were dried and ground up and used in magical potions, whatever. The venoms of toads were mistakenly used to induce visions, psychic visions. Didn't work. The ashes of a burned up toad were added to brandy to make you sick. No, actually, they would add burned up toads to brandy to cure drunkenness. True story. And it didn't work. I don't have a lot of these to tell you, other than to say that goats were also associated with evil because they had a cloven hoof, because the devil had feet of the goat. Goats were seen sometimes to be symbols of the devil. I'm surprised we don't have goat massacres too, like we did cats. But anyway, now that I've said all that, what are your plans for Halloween? And by the way, thank you for coming. I really do appreciate it. Should I do a Q&A? Should we turn this into a Q&A session? I don't want anybody to leave because once you're here, you're stuck for life. No, not really. Maybe. So, since you're here, these are some supernatural creatures from Scotland. There is the Kelpie. Now, the Kelpie, if you don't know, is a shapeshifter that would transform into a horse. You would often see the Kelpie, if they were real, by beaches and waterways. But if you touched the Kelpie, you were stuck. It was like glue, super glue, really, really super glue. And they would ride off into the water and you would drown. The Shellycoat was a spirit, a gnome, a dwarf-like creature that wore the coat of shells. So it was a cloak that had shells woven into it, and as it walked, it would clink of shells. So you always knew where it was. And it wasn't really dangerous per se, but it liked to play jokes. So it would get you lost, and then it would laugh, this really wicked laugh. There are instances where it was actually known to drown people. Then there's the Nuckelavee. This thing is hideous. It is the body, and it is a horse with the torso of a person stuck on the horse. Sort of like a centaur, except not a centaur. But the really gross thing about this particular creature is there's no skin. So it's flesh and blood, whatever. The other really, really scary creature is the washerwoman. This was a sort of like a banshee. She would appear and tell you when somebody was going to die. She a lot of times is at a stream washing burial shrouds, and if you come up upon her, that's what she's doing. She's washing burial shrouds, and she then foretells death. The Gilly Duh is a protector of the forest in Scotland, And it wears a cloak made out of leaves and moss. And it doesn't really trust adults, but it has been known, according to stories, to help lost children. Finally, we have the Selkie. Now, the Selkie is often portrayed as again, this is somebody that can transform. And they go from seal into a woman, a beautiful woman. They oftentimes will leave their seal skin laying around. If you pick it up, you can stash it away. And for men, that meant that if you stashed it away, she was yours. They would fall in love, have kids. At some point in the future, somebody might find that skin of hers. And the minute that happens, then there is an overpowering urge to get back inside her skin. And she returns to the ocean, where unfortunately she disappears forever. The kids lose their mother, and the husband loses his wife. Now, I don't know where these crazy stories come from. I really don't. It's totally bonkers to me. But I don't have to make this stuff up. It's already made up for me. So, does anybody have any questions on the subject? Now is your time to answer or forever hold your peace. It's quiet. I hear crickets. No, I really do. No, I don't. No, I don't. The next live I was going to read to you. Hey, they have Nessie. You can't get any goofier than Nessie. But I love these stories because I do. And I will say I was really worried doing this one because I knew I was going to be doing cats, but I was not expecting to find some of the stuff that I was going to find on the cats. So, yeah. In the comments, let me know where you're from. Also, well, Carol Nielsen, you don't have to, but you can if you want to. Sort of. As always, just to prove that I am doing my part in this, all cats are good, even the black ones. Although I have heard that, and I don't know if it's true, it could be one of those old wives' tales, that the humane societies do not adopt out black cats on Halloween night. I can neither confirm nor deny that claim. Sorry for the yawn. What do you all want for next week's live? Because I can read a story to you. I just don't have one made up yet. And I don't want to use one that's going to be in the books. That would be for Tuesday's live, or we can do something else. Sorry, something in my eye. Probably a vampire bat. It's so quiet. I'm about ready to phone a zombie. You know, I've heard that they don't because of the possibility of them being involved in issues that might pop up. I've heard that they don't because they have been used in rituals. Again, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard. And I certainly would not put it across people. Not one bit. Just keep that guy in the closet. What? What guy in the closet? There's nobody. I keep telling you, there's nobody in the closet. And if there is, he's free to come out and join us because it'll make the live more exciting. Okay, that's just wrong. Although, if you're going to drive a car, a hearse would be a really cool one to drive. Because that would really freak people out. Especially if you put a coffin in the back. Just saying. Actually, no, don't do that. That's weird. No, what would be really freaky is if you had like a mannequin hand sticking out of the coffin. That would be even better. I've always wanted to sit outside on Halloween night with when I had my tarantulas, with one of my tarantulas on me. Really, really give the kids a reason to scream. But I would never do that because I like my animals, and that's a good way to lose them. Plus, I don't believe that animals should be used to scare people because that's how phobias start, and that's no bueno. It might, I would be more concerned that the kids would get afraid, and yeah, that's no bueno. Halloween should be scary but fun. Thank you for the smiley faces. I hope that's what that was. I appreciate it. Guys, this is when I go live. I just want to put this out there into the universe. When I go live, the chat is for you. And if you don't understand the language, that's okay too. I accept everybody in my lives. And I mean everybody. Even the guy in the closet back there. Ha 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 ha. We all know there's nobody back there. It's a running gag if you're new. Okay? Just so you know. But also, if you are new and you've made it this far in, why not subscribe and be here for next week? because I have no idea what I'm doing next week. But I'm glad everybody is here, even if it's just 2 people. Also, if you're here, click the thumbs up button. That helps my live be seen by more people, and once you do that, you're really stuck. So we have talked about this before. If we believe in ghosts, I know I do. So I probably shouldn't be making jokes about something being in the closet, because there really could be. I hope there's, in a way, I hope there's not, because oh, well, I did too, I thought. But yeah, people have really misaligned animals from the get-go. And unfortunately, when that happens, it's never good for the animal. When Jaws came out, believe it or not, there was a huge run for killing sharks. It just no sense. So when we decide that an animal is evil or an animal is dangerous, it freaks people out and we act out. And I think that's part of what happened in the Dark Ages. Is we allowed ourselves to get caught up in the idea that cats are bad, and we acted out and we took care of it, unfortunately. And look how long it took them to realize that cats weren't bad. It literally took them to the 19th century to discover that, hey, cats aren't bad. But I do apologize for the opening part about cats. If anybody took offense, it's factual information from history, not to be taken as a sign that I'm anti-religion or anti-anything. I probably said that now 13,000 times, but I think it's worth repeating. I am planning on reading you all a story. I don't know what story, but it'll be a short story. It may or may not be spooky. I can't totally promise that, but I have till Tuesday to figure it out. Woohoo! I said spooky. Spooky story. Not necessarily a Halloween story, just a spooky story. You know, when I decided to do that idea for the spooky story, I didn't even realize that it was Halloween that day. Or is Wednesday Halloween? I can't remember. Anyway, we have made it 44 minutes so far. That's actually pretty good. Awesome. Scary movie night. Should I watch Nosferatu or Dracula? Or should I watch all of them? And no, I am not going to watch that with you guys because I don't want to get in trouble for copyright infringement. It's a thing. I'm sorry. I would do poisonous plants, but a lot of our plants are dying. Are you kidding? I love that movie. He looks like a rat. He really does. If you have not seen it, you need to buy the movie and watch it. But make sure that it's the old silent movie one. He's creepy. Much more creepier than Bela Lugosi's Dracula. Yeah, but that's what makes it fun to watch. You usually don't watch. Really? What makes Bella so good at that with that character is that he has the skill to pull it off. Plus, he has the accent. But read the myths. Vampires are not pretty boys. The original vampires were not pretty boys. They were ugly. So the makeup that they used on Nosferatu, yeah. No, absolutely not. Not in my house. Nope. We don't do glittery vampires in my house. Nope, no sparkles. The only sparklers that happen around here is at the 4th of July. You're not missing much. Although the book is written by somebody who is LDS. True story. Oh. The werewolves. I take it you're what is it, Jacob? I don't know. I'd rather see a movie where it's an actual vampire, not some made up not some made up sparkly creature. Give me Nosferatu, give me Bela Lugosi's Dracula, even Christopher Lee's Dracula. There is at some point, I don't know which point, but at some point there are. I'm not huge on the modern day horror movies because I have a very vivid imagination. I don't need anybody's help to fill in the blanks. My brain will do that by myself. He was, but it was a different studio at a different time. There was also more flesh seen in Christopher Lee's movies. And if you don't believe me, watch one that isn't on TV, per se. Hammer films tend to be bloodier, and they tend to be more fleshy. Yeah. The fake blood doesn't bother me so much, but I want to watch a horror show, not that. I feel like I could watch the old Hollywood movies with my nieces and nephews, maybe, and I might feel bad if they had nightmares because of it, but at least they're not getting the blood, the guts, and the female body parts thrown in. So there's that. Not that I'm a prude, but kids need to be kids as long as possible. Hitchcock was good, but yeah, he wrote The Birds, and let's face it, all that movie does is make people afraid of birds. But on the other hand, Psycho is pretty much a classic. Even though it's basically just a slasher movie, I don't like slasher movies either. Rare Window, I don't know that one. What I really want to see are some of the mummy movies. I love mummies. Not so much the first Mummy by Universal, but yeah. Boris is awesome. He is a trooper, that's for sure. Because between Frankenstein and the Mummy, he really earned his paycheck. I heard that Lon Chaney Jr. and the Wolfman, the animal that bites him is not really a wolf. It's really somebody, the security guards for the studio. The guard had a dog, and they actually had him. It was Lon Chaney Jr. that did the Wolfman. Lon Chaney was silent film. But anyway, he actually had the dog bit him. And if I remember right, it actually broke his arm. And he ended up actually adopting the dog that was the wolf in the Wolfman. And that was a story that he was actually came through on my phone the other day. So yeah, while we're sitting here enjoying these movies, think of what the guys went through during the making of them. Not always fun and glamorous. I need to start going live on Instagram as well when I do this. I can actually do that. Let's see. Yeah, perhaps. So it took them 8 hours to do the makeup for the Mummy. 8 hours to do the makeup for the Mummy. So supposedly he would come in, um, they would end filming at 2 a.m. and he had another 2 hours having the makeup removed. And then he had to go home. How much did the outfit for the Frankenstein monster weigh on Karloff? So a little bit about the Frankenstein monster, believe it or not. Oh, where is it? So for the makeup for Frankenstein, it was 3 hours each morning, 3 hours and a half. And that was just makeup. He would arrive at 3 a.m. to do the makeup. The the boots that Frankenstein, that the monster wore, weighed 13 pounds each. And there were steel rods that were placed in each of Karloff's pant legs. And there was a 5-pound steel spine. Altogether, the entire costume was 48 pounds. The daughter said that Boris lost 25 pounds during the filming of Frankenstein. So, yeah, I believe it. Okay, we are an hour and 3 minutes and 45 seconds into this. If you have not done so, please click that like button. That's the thumbs up button. Also, why not subscribe? If you've been here long enough, you might as well. I don't know yet what I'm doing for my story for Tuesday. It had better be something good or nobody will return. It is not going to be nature-based next week. I don't know what to tell you. Did we decide if we were staying for noon on Tuesday? Or are we changing that time? Do you remember, Carol? Because I don't remember. I will post it in the community page on Facebook and also on the community page on YouTube. But for now, this is me hoping you have a great whatever is left of your day. I will be posting all the videos that I didn't post this morning because I was working on other stuff for YouTube after I had dinner. So after I have dinner, all of the likes, all of the shorts will be posted, as well as videos for tomorrow will be posted also. With that, thank you for coming. Remember to never give up on yourselves and always keep learning. And I will see you next Tuesday at noon, unless it changes. See you then.